So the oil passage is in the same position as the back one, a bit harder to see here, but it is just down in the corner in the same position as the back cylinder. So we'll put our rubber hoses in there. So I just put a little bit of cloth in there, so it's like a bit of a bib, a bit of a catch there, so if you do drop them. Okay, so the socket one snapped yesterday when I tried to undo them. So I modified the stainless angle one that I made, added the extra two prongs there. So now we've got it. It's a nice tight fit. But tap it on with a hammer. Right. Oh shit. The whole bench and everything's flexing. That broke it. Yep, it's turning. Okay, so I refitted the shims, the cams, tightened the caps down, and then done a remeasurement with the feeler gauge. So these ones are still the same. We didn't change anything there. So this is the exhaust cam. There's your closer. So we're at 0.11 and a very tight 0.1 there. 0.1 there on the inlet cam. And this closer on this one is a very, very tight, even on a 0.04. And the opener, we got a 0.1 and a 0.13, so I need to loosen those up a little bit. Definitely need to loosen that one, and just a little bit looser on all of those, and they can stay the same. So we'll do that. We'll do the sand up, and I'll show you the sand up. Right, so we've got our opener shim. We want to take off 0.03. Right, 0.03. So how much is 0.03 if you haven't been doing any measurements and you're wondering? This is a piece of normal notepad paper. .105. So that's way more than what we want off. Here's your zigzag smoking paper. Very, very thin. .02, 0.019. .019. So a little bit more than this, but less than that. We double that up. .37, so about 2 layers of zigzag paper is about all we want to take off. So with that, we probably don't need to use the 240 grit. So I'll start with the 400 grit. Put it up the way that you want to sand it. Go one way and then go 90, do some circles. So as you can see, it's already polished and made a difference. Now we'll go 600. Now we'll go 1200. Give it a clean. So that's the new measurement, 2.925. We were 2.935. So we've dropped 0.01, 1/3 of what we want. So we need to do that 2 more times and then we should be at the right dimension. So just gave that another rub and we are now 2.912. So we just want another 0.01 off. So I gave another rub. I might not have measured it very well last time, or have overdone it, because we are now 2.88, which is the absolute minimum size that I wanted. So I've gone overboard a little bit too much. However, that just shows how easy it is to trim these things down more than you need. However, that will be the biggest size that we want. Okay, that's everything back in. Cam caps are just nipped down, so they're all the way down. They're holding these in properly. So we'll go 0.15. It's fitting in there easy. Goes in when you turn it. It's not pushing it out, so it's a firm 1.5 there. Let's get to 1.3. .3 is the smaller end of the tolerance. So that goes in there nice. That is definitely a little bit looser than the previous measurement. Goes in there easy. Doesn't fit in there. Goes in there easy. So this one's still tight. Push it back. 0.1 is the absolute smallest you want to be. So 0.1 fits in easy now. Yeah. And we've got the bigger opening gap, so that should be alright. So this should be 0.11 with 2 of them. Yeah, it's tight. It's going in, but it's tight. Yeah. Yeah, it's pulling out without turning the cam, but it's definitely got a bit of drag on there. So I'd say that's a 0.1. Okay, so the cams are back in. I took this shim back out, just took a little bit off, so it's a nice 0.15. On the gap. We've done the little bit of silicone that you do here so that the wall thickness of that doesn't leak silicone out the side here, because there's no real seal there. Alright, you have to do that on both sides of the cam, on all 4 of the camshafts. They're all sitting nice, a little bit of oil on them. So we'll let that silicone dry for 24 hours. We put the new seals on the camshaft. So they're in there, and then we'll get the cap ready. I'm going to paint the outside of that, and then we'll get that back on. Put these studs back in here first, and then a little bit of silicone with the gasket, and It should be closed up. And then we need to renew these. Bought some radiator hose because this is just too indented in here, so I don't want to reuse these. Some new clips here. Right, so I've given the cover a good clean up with some solvent and a wire brush. Got all the loose shit off, and I'll just put some washers. Just put some washers on there to cover up the sealing washers and some old bolts. We'll give it a warm it up with a heat gun, and then we'll give it a spray. Okay, so the cover's back on. I gave it a bit of a spray paint. Cam belts are back on. Just a bit of pre-tension there, and we've just turned the motor over a couple of times just to make sure it's all smooth, it's all good. Now we're going to work on changing these two radiator hoses. So these are like permanent clip here. Just got to get the screwdriver in there and work off the clip, and then they should come off. And we're just going to do screw up clips. Alright, see these are pretty indented from the clips, so they're getting pretty old. They look all good inside. They're not perishing or falling apart. But we've got a whole bit of a bend, it just fits some new ones, so we'll just chop this off here. Got a nice straight bit here we can make two out of. Okay, so the radiator's back in. We've cable tied the clutch cable, put the hose back in. We've cable tied the cable so they don't get caught on the fan, so the fan can spin. We've got the new radiator hose. We've got screw up clips now. Alright, so these ones have to go this way, otherwise they hit the bottom of the radiator. Drain hoses for the tank are there. Oil radiator bolted back in. That's the coil plug. Now on this side we've put 2 litres of coolant back into the engine so far, and it's filled right to the top, and cable tied the cables over here so they don't get caught in the fan. And we've turned the back wheel, 6 times, and it's in top gear, 6 gear. Half a turn is basically 1 whole turn of the engine. So I've done about 5, so that's about 12 turns on the engine, which means it should have primed up all the oil. All the oil should have primed up to the cams. It was only taking about 4 turns of the engine before it was doing that. So they should be all cams should be all full of oil and leaking out over the rocker arms. So now I just got to tighten up the airbox clamps, because I needed to lift it up to get the cam cover back on. And that all the silicone should be dry on there. So pretty much ready. Put the battery back in and give it a start up. So I just put the bike in gear and rolled it around the driveway a bit. Prime up the oil and the coolant, and you can see the coolant's dropped right down now. And there's still little bubbles just popping up in there. See the little bubbles? So put some more coolant in.